Good morning everybody, it's Graham once again from Unearthed and another episode of Detecting Talk. Now this episode will be quite interesting to a lot of you guys that are seasoned detectorists, but also it might ring true for some of you guys that have only been in the hobby for a matter of years or even months. But the story starts with me detecting on last Saturday. I was away last Saturday detecting on one of my adventures, as I call them, and we've had this particular farm for a number of years, probably about 15 years to be precise. And it's always been one of them farms that we can drop on if our main sites, as we call them, are not available. We can drop on this particular farm and we can always have a good time on it. There's always something to find. Maybe a little bit of Roman on there from time to time, the odd medieval hammered coin that comes to light, and some other interesting bits and pieces. So there's probably three or four fields there on this particular farm that we enjoy detecting on over the years. However, what was interesting about this particular day was we got there relatively early, the sun was shining, spoke to the farmer at length, everything was pretty much smooth. There was two fields to go at. One of them had been lifted, which is an interesting term to use. So they take the crop off because obviously it's harvest time. They leave the stubble on, but they do some sort of process on that particular farm that lifts the stubble up. Now they lift it up and the stubble comes up and drops apart. So it's relatively easy to detect on. It's not like solid stalks that you've got to hit with your search coil. This is loose soil. The stubble has been lifted, so it's broken up effectively. But that allows air to get underneath and signals can become scratchy. So the first few hours we worked tirelessly to find anything of note. However, again, wandering back to the car, and we need to explore this terminology in the future, wandering back to the car, you hear these stories all time and time again. I was wandering back to the car for my lunch. I'd pretty much found very little, the odd buckle, the odd button, bits of lead, bits of scrap copper, the usual stuff. Got a signal probably about 5 to 6 feet away from the front of my pickup, and there was a Henry VII half groat York mint. After 39 years of detecting, folks, it was my first ever one. So I ticked it off my wish list. I was very, very happy. If I didn't find anything else that day, I would have been still made up with finding that half groat. I've always been after one. 2 keys on the reverse. Fantastic find. Now then, this is where it got interesting. In the afternoon, we made the decision to move fields. There's a field across the road that had been left as bare or relatively bare earth. There's lifted the peas off and left the pea vines to rot down. So we thought, we've had some finds off it in the past, let's have a go. So we went on there, we put the smaller coils on. We actually use the small coils, the 5x8 magic coils, all day because they're perfect for getting in between the stubble, in between the iron, tight places, etc, etc, and then just like a little beam of light coming off the end of the detector. I was absolutely made up with the performance of that coil. So we had a great time. However, it soon became apparent to me that somebody else had been on. Now, this is where it gets interesting. That particular farmer only allows me and Gaz on the farm. He doesn't allow anybody else on because he trusts us. He's happy to just have 2 detectorists on there. Maybe if we want to bring a friend with us one of the days or a guest, you know, he's happy at that, but he doesn't let anybody else on. So most of the field was relatively hole free, or footprint free as I'm going to call it, and the reason is because it's near a main road. There's a lot of houses nearby, there's traffic up and down the main road all the time, but there's one particular area of the field, the top half of the field, that's secluded by almost near enough a square hedgerow, which is very, very private. It looks like it's been made to be private. It's not made that way, but it looks like it has. So somebody can quite easily sneak up to that top end of that field unseen by any roads, any houses, any of the other fields. And I think this is what's happened. So I was detecting alongside the hedgerow, scurrying around as I do, and I kept on looking down and thinking, they can't be detecting holes. They cannot be detecting holes. But they were. The classic sign of somebody digging a hole, refilling it. But the thing that gave it away was when I waved my detector over the hole, it's full of iron. 5 detecting related holes in the top of that field all had iron in it. So somebody had been on at night. Can't see them being on in the day because it's too much of a risk. I would say somebody's sneaked on there at night and detected up that top corner of the field unseen, and obviously been digging iron. They haven't got the detector set right if he's digging iron, leaving it in the hole. So of course I came along, redug the holes out, took the iron out, because we don't want to be left, you don't want to be leaving iron in there necessarily. But what I found is 1 or 2 footprints leading down the field slightly to a point where the hedgerow finished, or the corner of the hedgerow finished, and then they were back up, so they were rowing up and down in that particular area unseen. And that got me thinking, why would they pick that particular field and that particular area to detect at night? Night hawkers, guys, as we call them. Thieves with metal detectors, not detectorists. Remember, they're not detectorists, these are thieves with detectors. Why would he pick that particular area to detect? And obviously he's not wandering out into the main part of the field because he's going to be seen. There's lights from the houses and cars and everything else. Dog walkers, night and day, they're going to be pretty much caught. So they've kept themselves in this particular area of the field unseen. The only person that knows they're there now is me, because I've caught their holes and I've caught their footprints. So I was toying between doing a film and building that into the film, showing that there's been somebody on, videoing somebody's been on with these holes, and me showing them, waving my detector over the holes that they dug and semi-filled in, if that's the right word to use. But then I thought, it's not a good advert for detecting so much as doing these videos showing a bit of negativity, so I kept that out. But what I did is this. Driving home that night, I was thinking, why would they choose that particular field? And this is the conclusion I've come to. A lot of the fields now are in stubble. There's 1 or 2 ploughed fields knocking around, which is good, people can get on. But the vast majority of land where we search is in stubble, high stubble, or collapsed stubble. They've lifted it, as we said earlier. So I think these individuals drove around in the daytime looking at fields where he can go on at night and found this particular one because it's bare earth and it's been left. And I think he's put it in his head, made a mental note of that field being available, and he's gone back at night to do that particular area. Now this is what worries me. 2 fields over from it, sounds very near, but it's actually quite far because you've got to get onto the road and drive up and get into the trackway, etc. There's another field that's been left in bare earth. And what I'm going to do next week, I'm going to go and check that, because I'm pretty sure they would have night hawked that field as well. Now that's under the same farm, so we've got permission on that. What we don't want to get into a situation is with the farmer thinking it's us that's been on. So then you've got to pack all your gear away, get sorted for the travelling home, but you've got to go back to the farm, which is out of the way, to tell the farmer, by the way, there's somebody been on at night. Because I don't want the farmer thinking it's been us making a mess. And of course then we've got the added problem of filling the holes back in that these idiots have left. So not only is it eating into your detecting time, which it is, they've made a bloody mess of the field. So, you could wipe off an hour of your detecting day just going around filling these people's holes in that they've left from the previous night before or nights before. Now, there is another scenario which is worrying also, and this might be where you guys come into it that watch this channel. I also think some of these people watch. So I'm detecting in the day, I'm up and down the field, broad daylight, full view of everybody. I've got permission, I can be on that field, I'm happy, I'm in my element, I'm enjoying it. But how many people drive past and make a mental note, oh, he's on there detecting. Why is he on there detecting? He must be finding things. I'm going to come back at night and give it a go. And I think that happens from time to time. I think people spot you in the fields of a weekend, and they make a mental note, these thieves with detectors, as I call them, and they make a point of going back, and that's what I think's happened. We've been on that field probably about a dozen times now over the years, maybe more, and it's going to come to the attention of individuals, unsavoury individuals, that are going to make a mental note of why are we on there. They must have found a site, they must have found a hot spot, they must be finding stuff, so we're going to go on at night, and I think that's what's happened. So it's going to be an interesting weekend coming up, because I'm going to be driving around that particular farm and then particular fields looking for night hawkers' holes. Not only am I going to fill them in, not the night hawkers, because I'd love to catch them and fill them in, fill the holes in, but it's going to take a good chunk of my detecting time in the morning out of the equation completely, because I do not want the farmer thinking it's us. And of course, then it's the added question of the farmer thinking, God's sake, there's people going on at night, is it worth it? But the thing is, what you've got to remember and say to the farmer is this: we're on there detecting. It can counteract it, if that makes sense. So, spinning on its head, if these night hawkers see us on there detecting, are they less likely to go on because that field's already been done? Chances are, yes. They might think, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not going to go on there. They've hammered that field for a full day. No, I'm not going to go on. And they'll choose somewhere else to do their dirty deed. Now, I don't know what some of you guys find. I'd be interested to see if some of you guys have permissions that are night hawked regularly. Some of you guys coming across night hawkers on your particular permission. I have to say, it's been 18 months since I've seen footprints, and no, it's not. 12 months since I've seen night hawkers, because two of the detecting celebrities, as we like to call them, no names mentioned, woman and man, had been on one of our particular farms and left a right mess. They didn't have permission. The farmer told them he didn't want them to go on a Tuesday midweek because they don't work, and they made a right mess, and we ended up having to fill in all the holes and take off the large scraps of steel and iron that they left on the field surface. So that was about 14 months ago. So we've not had an incident of night hawkers until last Saturday, when we found the footprints and the holes. So what do some of you guys feel about that? Do you get the same problem? How do you deal with it? How do you speak to the farmers about it? It'd be interesting to know, guys, because it's not worried me as such, because it's not, it's just a random field where there's been casual losses on it, the odd coin, the odd artifact, the odd bit of pottery on there. There is stuff on there, there's history on the field, but it's certainly not a mega productive site. But why have they been on there detecting? Have they seen us? Is it a field because it's been available and it's been private? They could just sneak in the hedgerow and detect around that particular area. I pretty much think that is in desperation, they're looking for sites. So I'm going to keep my eyes out now for the next 6 to 8 weeks for detecting holes, and see if we can come across some of these night hawkers, because it might be just worth spending an overnight in bed and breakfast or at the farm. Who knows? Be interesting to see if we could catch these guys doing the dirty deed, wouldn't it? Be really interesting. Anyway, listen, next thing is I need to speak about, putting that one aside, is the Nocta Simplex machines, the Simplex Plus and the Simplex Wireless. You're going to be with us very soon. There's a growing list of people after these potentially wonderful machines because they're fully waterproof. There's one wireless, it's got loads and loads of features, relatively good budget as well. Remember, fully waterproof machine, collapsible stem for 300 quid, under 300 quid for one, under 400 quid for the wireless version. That just proves that these manufacturers can make waterproof, weatherproof machines for relatively good budgets and prices, I think. So if you need, I'm looking at the Simplex, you can give us a call. We've got them coming in stock. There's a growing list of names. However, we will not take people's money until they are physically with us. I know some of the dealers are taking payments from now. That's up to them. We don't operate that way. We like to have the goods in our hands first, and then we take it from there. So by all means, drop us an email if you're interested in the Simplex, and we'll certainly accommodate you guys all we can. Next episode of Detecting Talk, folks, will be Friday, but in between that, there'll be a video of my exploits out in the fields from last weekend. So give that a watch. It'll be coming soon. Thanks for watching. I will catch up with you guys very soon. Bye for now.